What's going on, tinfoil hat squad? It is Friday, and you know what that means. It is time for the UFC Vegas 51 undefeated post-weigh-in show. Let's go! There was all kinds of action for us to talk about today. If this is your first time watching the show, you don't know, so I'm going to tell you. What we do is we take one final look at these fighters before they step into the cage on Saturday. We're looking for wobbles, we're looking for rapid blinks, we're looking for dehydration, bad weight cuts, people that are terrified of their opponents that won't meet their eyes. Like we're looking for any little thing that can give us one more extra edge when you're making a bet gambling on these UFC fights. Doesn't always add up to much for us, but we call it the undefeated post-weigh-in show because there has never been a wrong read on this Friday show. In fact, we are batting 1,000 for 1,000. Anything you hear on this show is unequivocal fact. There's no such thing as a wrong comment made on this particular show. So buckle in, folks. We're going to have some fun today. First fight of the night, Hailey Alatang taking on Kevin Croom. And this is a fight that I've been kind of staring at all week. We got Alatang Hailey coming in at 135.5. Kevin Croom made 136. Hailey Alatang looked confident, gave a good solid flex. No issues for him. This is his home. Kevin Croom was dropping down a weight class, though, and I was not expecting this to be very easy for him. He got up on stage, he stuck his tongue out, he was his usual goofy ass self, and he looked good. I have no problems with what I saw from Kevin Croom making weight today. He's got a huge height and reach advantage in this spot, and I am so tempted to bet him here. I am so tempted to bet Kevin Croom here in this spot. Alatang Hailey, he hits hard, but he's low volume. He can wrestle, but he never does. So, like, it's one of those spots where you've got this favorite that really should win this fight, but they've got so many X factors. They're so untrustworthy absolutely everywhere. Kevin Croom is going to have a height and reach advantage. He's going to have a volume advantage. He's got the jiu-jitsu, so if he does get taken down, he's not dead. And can we really count on Alatang Hailey shooting 7 or 8 takedowns? He just doesn't do it often enough for me. If he does, maybe he smothers Kevin Croom the way that Brian Boom Kelleher did. But I also think down at 136, Croom's, his strength might be a little bit more significant here. He can probably get back up to his feet easier in this spot. So I think we've got a very live underdog in this spot. I have not bet it yet, but Kevin Croom is kind of the way that I'm looking here, and I was really just waiting for the confirmation on the scales that he wasn't going to be dead walking into this fight with that weight cut before I made any kind of move. So as always, if I make a bet, I will be tweeting it. I will be posting it on Instagram. So if you want to watch for my official plays, follow me at DieHard MMA Pod, and I'll see whether or not I get on this one before kickoff tomorrow. Next up, we have got Sam Hughes taking on Estela Nunez. Sam Hughes made 115.5. Big smile on her face. Happy flex. She looked really good up there today. Estela Nunez, she looked good also. However, the stream was janky today. It was so bad. We couldn't watch anything. There's a couple fights on here that I didn't even get to see the fighters weigh in on the scale because the Wi-Fi apparently is so bad in the Apex. The MMA Junkie stream kept cutting out. So I didn't get to see Nunez on the scale. However, we saw her at the face-offs. There are no ceremonial face-offs today, so these are right after the weigh-in, so you kind of still get a decent idea of what the fighters look like. Not like they've got an hour or two to rehydrate or anything like that between the weigh-ins and the face-offs. Nunez gonna have a decent height advantage here. This was a good face-off. I've been really tempted on Sam Hughes all week. She packed up her life. She moved to a real legitimate camp. She's training with a high-level coach. She's been working on all the things that she needs to work on in order to have success in this fight. The small cage favors the grappler. We know that Nunez wants to strike. She has difficulty with the takedowns and getting up off her back when she does get put on her butt. So, I'm a little tempted here to take Sam Hughes. I've been fighting it basically all week. I think plus 185 might be just a little bit too disrespectful. Getting her by decision at plus 300 doesn't sound bad either. I know Nunez has given up some submissions and stuff like that, but this almost seems like that desperate just win Sam Hughes type of spot. Believe it or not, so I do want to make it very clear. All the lines on this show are sponsored by Superbook Sports. So we're going to be using Superbook Sports for any of the lines that we quote today. Like I said, Sam Hughes is plus 185 over there. But this might be another one of those psycho split decision prop type spots because you're going to get Nunez, who's going to be trying to put the heat on Hughes on the feet. And then as soon as she gets taken down, all she's going to be doing is trying to get back up. Hughes probably just hanging on to her while she's on the mat, trying to win minutes, trying to kill the clock. This could be a very close, very squeaky competitive fight come decision time, and that split prop is one that I'm starting to kind of like. It turned out okay with Aljo, so maybe we go back to the well here. I don't know. Trey Ogden taking on Jordan Leavitt up next. Ogden came in at 156, Leavitt 155 and a half. Trey Ogden had a blank stare on his face up there, couldn't really get anything from him. He's in solid shape, he looked good. Leavitt was goofy as fuck. I mean, this guy is always goofy up there, having a good time. I love the energy that he brings. They actually size up pretty well. I thought that Ogden was going to be a decent bit bigger than Jordan Leavitt, and this is another spot where I've been tempted on the dog basically all week. Money has been kind of trickling in on Trey Ogden. He's making his UFC debut. Leavitt has shown that he can at least swim with the sharks in the UFC. He's a plus 120 underdog. I still kind of have a slight lean towards Jordan Leavitt here in this spot, just because I think it's really tough for me when these like mid-level UFC debutantes step in and they're the favorite over somebody who's got UFC caliber experience. I tend to, give the credit to the UFC guy that they'll be able to defend their job. And Leavitt's been training. He's been working at a high level. He's got a couple fights under his belt. So, he's going to be getting better. He's going to be rounding out. He's going to, we all talk about how he has deficiencies in his game. He's eventually going to be a UFC level talent if he keeps going the way that he is. It's just a matter of time. So this is a spot where I feel like maybe he's getting a little disrespected. Again, haven't bet it. I totally understand the wrestling advantage for Ogden, the striking advantage for Ogden make this seem like a very clear, easy spot to back the favorite. But I got the sneaky sensation that Leavitt pisses everybody off again and does the splits in the middle of the cage. Chris Barnett taking on Martin Buday. We've got the big boys weighing in here. Barnett made 263 and a half. He's a big boy. Buday 264 and a half. So just 1 pound difference. Barnett's up there doing the double finger guns, speed punching the cameraman as he's walking out of there. I love Chris Barnett. I'm so happy he's in the UFC. I love his energy. Martin Buday, stream cutout. Did not get to see this man on the scales, but he's your classic big lumbering heavyweight. Of course, when they face off, this looks like a complete freak show. Chris Barnett looks like he should be fighting as a small 170 pounder and Buday as a heavyweight. I mean, he's like a full half human taller than Barnett in this spot. It's absolutely insane. So Barnett obviously is a decent sized favorite here in this spot, and I do have him in a parlay. I just think the size is going to be too much. You could probably live bet Barnett here though, because if Buday looks like he's fading after round one, we know Chris Barnett's got the gas tank. I think Buday, especially in the small cage, is going to have success just kind of pinning Barnett up against the fence, laying on him, making him drag that weight, and he's a BJJ brown belt. So if this thing does hit the ground, he's going to have that top position opportunity. I actually think Buday by submission might be a sneaky spot to get some value if you want to prop on this one. But I do also think if the tide turns, jump in live, because Chris Barnett has a tendency of making these fights super close. And I actually like the over 1.5. This is one I talked about on the Total Takedown. Didn't actually lock the bet in. I probably need to go do that because I said I was going to. Total set at 1.5. The over 1.5 is plus 105. The under 1.5 is minus 125. And Chris Barnett's not a guy that you usually just steamroll through. He is super hard to finish. He's very durable, and he knows he needs to survive round one to have a chance in this fight. So he does a lot of running. He uses a lot of movement, tries to, pick his shots and mostly just cover up and defend so that he doesn't get KO'd in that first round. If he can pull that off, I don't expect to see him go down super quickly at the beginning of round two. Heavyweights tend to slow down the longer the fight goes on. So I think there's going to be a lot of cage control, a lot of Buday chasing Barnett, and I think that over 1.5, especially at plus money, seems like a pretty good spot to me. So that's probably a spot that I might be attacking as well. Hoffa Garcia taking on Jesse Ronson. Garcia came in at 155, Ronson 155 and a half. Hoffa gave a slight wobble on the scales today. Nothing to be super, tinfoil hat about. Just a little unstable up there, but he gave a big flex. He was looking intense. He's all set, ready to go here. Jesse Ronson looks solid. Now, those of you who know, Ronson's coming off of a USADA suspension. He doesn't look like he missed a beat. He said it was a tainted supplement, so I'm choosing to believe him here in this spot that it was a tainted supplement. So he either found a different supplement that works just as well, or it was a tainted supplement because his physique has not suffered whatsoever. Bro needs to shave his head though. I mean, trust me, I'm part of the bald gang. I get it. At least I keep my hair, short like this because that bald spot is, God love us, there's nothing we can do about it with these genetics, but man, you can't do the long hair thing with the patch right up here in front. It's too bad. It's too noticeable. Come on, Jesse. Join the bald gang, buddy. Embrace it. Bald is beautiful. So this is a spot, my biggest spot on the card. I got Jesse Ronson at even money plus 100 earlier in the week. tweeted that out for everybody. 4 units on that one. I took a big shot here on this kid. I am ready to rock on Jesse Ronson. And we've got minus 115 now on Jesse Ronson, minus 105 on Hoffa Garcia. It did jump up Ronson minus 120 for a minute. Looks like some money has come on Garcia to bring it back down. This is a spot where, again, I think Jesse Ronson understands the assignment. He talked about how Hoffa Garcia tries to grapple, gets tired. I have seen Jesse Ronson absolutely maul 170-pounders. Hoffa Garcia, size disadvantage here in this spot. He's a smaller 155er. He's thick, don't get me wrong, well-muscled, but I think this is exactly the kind of spot where Jesse Ronson can wear this guy out and then take him out of there. If not, just win the striking exchanges is really all he needs to do. If Hoffa Garcia tries to grapple this guy, I'm pretty confident that Jesse Ronson is a better grappler. Got the submission edge, stuff like that. He'll be able to get up and stand back up if he wants to keep the fight on the feet. So I like Jesse Ronson a lot here in this spot. And the scales, they didn't change my opinion at all. They just kind of reinforced the fact that I'm getting the bigger guy that I'm perceiving to be, slightly stronger and more well-rounded. So I didn't understand why he was the dog in the first place here. Next up, here we go. This is the moment you have all been waiting for. Drakkar Klose taking on Brandon Jenkins. Now, Drakkar Klose, he made 156. However, he required the box of shame, and then they actually delayed the face-offs by a good 20-30 minutes because he was trying to actually get 156 on the dot. He did not want to miss weight for this spot, and he looked awful, folks. He looked absolutely terrible. He was standing up on the stage, shivering. It reminded me of Aspen Ladd when she looked so awful right before she got TKO'd by Jermaine Durandamy. She was up there shaking in her boots, and you just wanted somebody to go up and save her and put some clothes on the guy so that he can stop being cold. You could tell he was having trouble. He was hyperventilating. Like, this is the type of bad weight cut that I look to fade. Now, there have been some people giving me some shit on Twitter that are like, oh, he missed weight. Oh, hammer the other guy. Well, that's not quite that easy. I mean, last week is a perfect example of how I said Julio Arce missed weight, but I really wasn't concerned with it. He's still the overall better fighter. Guys, personally, I haven't been sold on Drakkar Klose at all for a long time, and I've been waiting to fade this man. And my perceived chin concerns, I think the guy is busted. I think he's broken. I do think that his chin is going to be forever a problem for him. And if he's struggling this bad on the scales, that's a hard weight cut to recover from. If you miss a little bit and you're sucked out, hydration can fix that. When you're up there hyperventilating because you're in such bad shape from cutting that weight, and then they make you cut that extra pound again on top of it instead of rehydrating immediately, I'm not sold that he's going to recover from this weight cut. Again, y'all know me. I'm going to tell you what I am betting. You put your money wherever the hell you want. If I give you some information that you end up riding with on and we both cash, that's the goal. We love that, but I want you to make money either way. So if you don't agree with me, folks, that is fine. You do you. I'm betting on my guy Brandon Jenkins. He made 155 and a half. Big smile, rocking the Tim Elliott haircut. You gotta love to see that. And he's massive. He's got a huge size advantage, much taller than Drakkar Klose in this spot. And even at the the face-offs afterward, Klose was just walking so slowly. Like, Jenkins is full of energy, great cut, ready to go. And on top of that, he talked about it in an interview. He added 9 pounds of muscle in this spot. So if he was able to make that cut, added 9 pounds of muscle, he's going to be stronger. He's going to look better than he did in his UFC debut. And they call him the human highlight reel for a reason. This guy throws all kinds of stuff. Spinning stuff, head kicks, flying knees. And if I'm trying to fade a guy with a chin concern, this is exactly the kind of fighter that I'm looking to fade that chin with. I understand it's banana peel price tags, and I totally get that Drakkar Klose can probably put a wrestling clinic on this guy, but especially with that weight cut, I also have my concerns that Drakkar Klose can keep up a wrestling clinic for a full 15 minutes. This is the kind of guy that if he slips up just once or twice, all we need is a couple taps on that chin and this thing could be over. So I put 2 units on my guy Brandon Jenkins, plus 500 over on Superbook Sports. We have got a plus 1,400. That's right, 14-1 Jenkins by knockout, and I put a full unit on that as well. Like I said, I've been waiting to fade Drakkar Klose. I understand I might be jumping the shark a little bit, fading him with a fighter that's maybe fringe UFC caliber, maybe not UFC caliber, but I do not believe in Drakkar Klose. I think that Drakkar Klose is on the decline. I think he's had some problems for a while, and he's well on record talking about how he is still dealing with the symptoms from the Jeremy Stephens push. That's all I need to know. I think this guy can knock him out. And if it's a banana peel fluke knockout, that's fine. I'll cash all these units. And I understand I'm putting 3 units on a very suspect fighter, but I feel like I'm getting the right line to do so. And I'm willing to take that risk. That's just me. Good luck. You do you. All right, next up. Lena Landsberg taking on Piani Kanzad. I never saw Lena Landsberg today. The stream kept cutting out. Never got a look at her. She made 135.5 though. Piani Kanzad looked great. No issues for her. This was a good face-off. Kanzad made 136. These two size up pretty well. It was a respectful face-off. We know it's a rematch. Again, this is a spot that does nothing for me. I fully expect Piani Kanzad to just roll in this spot, but at the same time, Lena Landsberg likes to grapple. She likes to mix in the cage control, and that can make fights very, very close. Piani Kanzad is a minus 400 favorite, plus 330 on Lena Landsberg. I mean, this is another spot where I wouldn't be, I wouldn't hate the sprinkle on the split decision prop or something like that, just because I can see this thing being close, and it's just because of the way that these two fight. I think the judges are going to have a hard time picking out who exactly is getting the better of who, because Piani Kanzad probably isn't going to get to box the whole time. Now, if she does, she'll look like a minus 1,000 favorite if she gets to stay at boxing range. But I don't know if Lena's just going to let her do that. So, siding with the favorite, no bet for me. Next up, my guy, Devin Clark, taking on Willie Knight. Devin Clark, remember, because of what happened with Will Knight last time out, they're taking this fight at heavyweight. Devin Clark came in at 223. He looked pretty thick. This is a guy that I've talked about how I think he's truly a middleweight. He's got a middleweight frame. He's bulked up pretty well. He's filled out at 205. I'll give some credit where it's due. Came in at 223 in this spot, looking good. Will Knight, though, I mean, I talk about how this guy's a tank every single time he fights. Every single time. Dude's an absolute unit. And at heavyweight, he weighed in at 251. Holy crap. Like, this is a guy that cuts to 205 for fights, generally speaking. And because he didn't have to worry about that this time out, he came in at 251. He is going to have a massive weight advantage in this spot. Size advantage goes to Clark. When they faced off, I mean, Will Knight is never going to be taller than his opponent. It's just not going to happen. But Willie is about twice as wide as he is. Now, Devin Clark is a guy that really relies on his grappling and does not like being hit. I've got this sinking sensation he's going to have a hard time moving my boy Thick Willie, because weighing 250 pounds, being that low to the ground, not having to worry about, refueling, bad weight cut, chopping 40 pounds off of your total weight, I think Willie's going to be in extra special condition for this one compared to normal, and kind of like the Drakkar Klose spot, Devin Clark is just not a fighter that I believe in. I think he's too small at 205. Now, I know that's kind of a joke because he's fighting William Knight, who is smaller than he is technically, but I'm just saying, I don't think he's got the frame for it. Will Knight, he might not be tall, but boy is he broad, and if he just puts his mitts on Clark once or twice, I think we've seen Will Knight knock somebody out before. I think he can get the KO in this spot. And Devin Clark is really a guy that relies on being able to clinch up and control his opponents and out-wrestle people. And I don't know if he can do that with Will Knight just because of the sheer strength advantage. And because, again, we talk about it with wrestlers, the lower your hips are to the ground, the better. I don't know if Devin Clark's going to be able to get in on Thick Willie's hips in this type of a situation. We saw the trip takedowns really work well against Will Knight. Hopefully he's patched that up. We've got Will Knight plus 155 as a dog right now. Devin Clark minus 175. Complete dog or pass spot for me, folks. I don't know if I'm betting it yet. I've got a soft spot for Will Knight. I love his personality. He's a fun guy. And I love that he brings a bit of a freak show element here to the UFC. So I am always biased towards wanting to bet Will Knight. It's happened a couple times recently. Burned me a couple times recently. I might take a poke on him here just because, again, I just really don't think much of Devin Clark. But I can't imagine laying minus 175 on Devin Clark in this spot. So Will Knight for me, maybe Will Knight by KO sprinkle, something like that, but not a lot of investment here, not a lot of confidence in this particular spot. Ange Lusa filling in here on short notice, taking on Munir Lazzez. We've got Lusa and Lazzez both coming in at 171. Ange Lusa, big stoic flex on the scale, looks solid. Andre Muniz, I'm sorry, geez, I'm mixing their names up here. Munir Lazzez giving a confident one-arm flex and honestly looked fantastic. This guy's one of those, solid physique style fighters. Like, he can retire from MMA and go be a model if he wants to. Lazzez, decent bit taller. Luce obviously has the thickness, but I was surprised by the height advantage here. I did not expect Munir Lazzez to be as tall as he is when compared to Luce. I really thought Luce was, had a bigger frame on him. This is a spot to me where I don't know that I want to pay minus 190 for Munir Lazzez. We've had 2 fights with him, and one was against a fading Abdulrazak Alhassan, where he did his work and stayed away from the power and won a decision. And then the other one was where he fought a 1-round fighter, and he got blown up in that first round. Andre Luce is a guy that definitely has that KO or bust 1-round type of style. I can see him clipping Munir Lazzez here early, but if he doesn't, I absolutely can see Lazzez taking over the fight and coasting to a 29-28 type of decision. We've seen Luce. He's very durable. He knows how to take his shots. I think the height and the reach advantage really works for Lazzez, but again, the small cage that kind of favors the guy that's looking for those power shots, looking to close the range and the distance. So a spot I really don't want to get involved in. I've been siding with Lazzez basically all week. I think maybe there's some live dog side here on Luce, but I mean, yeah, like I gotta pick Munir Lazzez here in this spot, I think, but I'm definitely not betting minus 190 here. So good luck on that one if you guys choose to take a poke. This might be a better live betting spot, because if Luce does come out hard and Lazzez manages to survive it, then maybe you can jump in live, because he'll probably win rounds 2 and 3 as he figures out the range and the timing and the pace. But Luce definitely could get this thing done early. Next up, we have got Patsabatini taking on TJ Laramie in maybe what is like the fans' main event this week here. Everybody's super excited for this fight. Seems like we're all on the same side, though. TJ Laramie came in at 145.5, Patsabatini 146. Stream cut out on Patsabatini again. Didn't get to see the guy, unfortunately. TJ Laramie threw one arm up in the air, blank face, easy making weight. He's the smallest guy in the weight class, so no problems for him there. These guys actually size up pretty well. I thought that Patsabatini was going to have a little bit more of a size advantage, but he is slightly bigger, not as big as I would have liked to see. This closes out my parlay. I do have Patsabatini as the other leg in my parlay with Boudet. TJ Laramie kind of worries me just a little bit. We've got Patsabatini as a minus 500 favorite now, plus 400 TJ Laramie. I don't think there's any way that TJ Laramie finishes Patsabatini, guys. I'll be honest with you. So, like, if you want to take a shot at the dog, this would be another decision, split decision type of sprinkle spot, because I just don't see how he finishes Pat. He's not going to sub him, and he's a career wrestler. So if he's controlling the wrestling, then he, takes him down, stays on top, stays safe. Or if he's forcing this thing into a standing match and it's a boxing fight, Patsabatini's got the reach advantage. So, like, even if somehow TJ is winning the boxing, exchanges on the feet and wins a decision, I don't think he hits hard enough to KO Patsabatini. So, yeah, I think this one's going over. I think if there's a finish, maybe it's the sub for Patsabatini. I'm not as bullish as everybody else. Everybody saw TJ Laramie get choked out in his UFC debut by Darrick Minner, and that shit happens. Darrick Minner just does that to people. So I'm not sold that Patsabatini is finishing TJ Laramie here. I actually would be more interested in, the over or Patsabatini by decision. Honestly, the 2.5 is sitting at minus 115 to the over, and that doesn't look half bad to me, because unless Patsabatini locks up the submission, I really think that's the only way this thing finishes. I think it probably ends up being more of a striking match or just more of a grind. So I kind of like the over in this spot, and I've already got Patsabatini in a parlay. Next up, Mayra Bueno Silva taking on Wu Yanan. Both ladies came in at 136, and Mayra Bueno Silva, blank face, one arm up in the air in victory already, pre-fight here, looking miserable on the scales. Of course, it's weigh-in day. She didn't look bad. She just looked like she wasn't happy to be there. Wu on the other side of things, big happy smile, no issues from her whatsoever. This was a good face-off. Both women look expressly confident here. Silva almost looked like she was trying to punk Yanan Wu. Wu wasn't having it. She was smiling, had no issues whatsoever, walked off the scale without a care in the world. I love when that happens, when people with a bad attitude try to get under the skin of somebody positive, and they're just like, I ain't got time for you. Like, that's my style. I love that. And this is another spot where I just hate the line, folks. Like, minus 500 on Mayra Bueno Silva. Holy crap. Like, skill set for skill set, yeah. I mean, she probably should run through Wu Yanan. She really should. She's probably the harder hitter. If she wanted to wrestle, she probably could grind her out. If she wants to take it to the ground, she probably taps her out with a submission. That probably all happens. However, she has the worst fight IQ I think I've ever seen, and she doesn't shoot takedowns, and she encourages brawls. So because of that, Wu Yanan is far more live in this spot than she ever should be. And if you listen to the fighter interviews, again, I know a lot of people don't put stock talk into those. I like to take things from them personally. Wu Yanan basically talked about how she's basically reinvented herself for this fight. She wasn't taking it very seriously before. She wasn't doing the things that she needed to be successful before, and she's fixed a lot of those problems. That doesn't necessarily close the skill gap by any means, but she's been off for a long time, so there's a chance that she has patched up some holes. And again, I know I've said it a couple times, this is my split decision type of spot. I may be sprinkling the split decision here because I talked about it on the Monday show, how this would be the exact fight that I would not be surprised whatsoever if the world is piling in on Mayra Bueno Silva because she absolutely should win this fight. She makes zero effort to fight to her path to victory, and she slips away a split decision because Wu Yanan comes out with an improved jab. That's all it takes. That's really all it takes. Because if Wu Yanan can keep this thing on the feet, if she doesn't shoot for takedowns herself, we know Silva's not going to, and if Wu hits her in the face with a long, stiff jab and keeps her at range, she legitimately can just jab for 15 minutes and win this fight. I'm convinced that that's possible. Again, this is stupid. Silva should win this fight. She absolutely should, but she's so untrustworthy. There's no way I can put my money on her. Going on the Wu side, going on the Wu decision side, that's really the only way that you can get invested in this spot and have any, I don't know, any level of confidence. Because, I mean, let's just look at it here real quick. So even if we are looking at, Silva, Mayra Bueno Silva by sub, wow, okay, so Superbook has Silva sub at plus 315. That ain't bad. That's not bad at all. Honestly, that would kind of be more the way that I would look. That's her true path to victory. And if she does, for whatever reason, come out and shoot takedowns, again, we have no reason to believe that she will. But if she suddenly decides that she will this time around, she probably should win by submission. So that's not a bad look, actually. I was going to say that the numbers are awful, but that's not bad. Next fight up, Andre Fiallo taking on Miguel Baeza. Both men made 171 pounds. Fiallo looked solid on the scale, but again, I got about 2 seconds worth of view time on him. The stream cut out, so he looked good, didn't wobble from what I was able to see. Miguel Baeza absolutely shredded up there. This guy is in crazy shape. Multiple flexes, doing the Arnolds up there. And when they face off, this was an intense face off. These guys, they got into it. They had to be split up. They had to be pushed, opposite sides of the stage because neither one of them was really willing to back down. Baeza, decent height advantage here. He's going to be a bit taller than Fiallo. This is a spot where I've been talking about Fiallo. I do think Fiallo is live here. He's a plus 150 underdog at this point. Miguel Baeza minus 170. I don't personally like the chin of Miguel Baeza. I think it's a problem. I do think he's the type of guy that can just get clipped. He doesn't have that good, solid defense we like to see. We've seen him hurt. We've seen him wobbled in his last fight. He got knocked out. It finally happened. So I don't know if Fiallo is the guy to follow that up, but he might be. He's got big power. He's young. He's at a good gym. He's improving. This is the kind of guy where we could see the flip of prospects. Miguel Baeza was supposed to be the hot hand. Now that he's taken a couple steps back, Fiallo's had time to get his ears wet. He might be ready to, step up and take that spot. So I kind of like dogger pass here in this spot. Again, Miguel Baeza was a bit more physically imposing than I really expected him to be. If he comes out with a smart game plan and another guy that could just kind of jab and stay on his bike and win a decision here, that's totally possible. Fiallo really relies on his power, so it's not like a home run shot, but I do lean to the Fiallo side. Maybe a bet from me on the Fiallo side. Lots of live dogs here this week, folks. This is one of those dumpster divey type of cards where the favorites are very low tier fighters, so on a bigger card you'd probably pass, but because they're the favorites on this card, people are going to be parlaying them together, and I don't think all of them are going to hold. These are much lower level fighters. I don't know that these guys are all going to get it done. We've got Ciao Borgello taking on Omar Gadziev, which, your boy can pronounce it now. I've been doing my homework. We've got Ciao coming in at 186. Omar Gadziev came in at 186. And we got a big smile and a great flex from Paulo Costa's son. He was wearing sunglasses on the scale, which, that's a no-no. Anyway, he looked fine. Gadziev came up, and he looked very relaxed. He threw the one-arm flex up, but no issues for him whatsoever. He was just, kind of feeling himself up there. Both guys talking at the face-off. It seemed respectful. They fist-bumped afterward. Cialo's got a size advantage, though. He's a decent bit bigger here in this spot. Not that that's anything I think we need to write home about, because Omar Gadziev is a wrestler, and I've talked about how getting under somebody's hips makes a difference, and we got minus 130 right now on Omar Gadziev, plus 115 on the underdog, and I've seen nothing but love for Fiallo. And it's a spot where I just can't get Omar Gadzhiev out of my brain. Like, I think this guy probably Khabibs him. He finds his way to a takedown, pins him up against the fence. We've seen Fiallo controlled by his opponents before in his regional scene tape and in the Dana White Contender Series. This is a hot prospect face-off. Both these guys could have been on the next season of the Contender Series and had this fight. This isn't the UFC fight. We're seeing which one, we're just watching Contender Series 2.0 here for this one. So I'm not super confident. I've been trying to talk myself into betting Omar Gadzhiev basically all week and haven't quite gotten there. I've been very, very careful this week on my bets. I really only have like 2 or 3 bets that I've made so far on this card because it's just that sketchy, and I also don't want to donate all of my all my winnings from last week straight back immediately on a sketchy ass card. So I'm gonna lean with the Russian. Main event time, Vicente Luque taking on Belal Muhammad. Vicente came in at 171, Belal 170 and a half. And Luque was absolutely dialed in. No issues with this guy on the scales. We never really expect that. And Belal was jacked as ever. This guy is getting more and more shredded every single time we see him on the scales. He threw up his classic Arnold pose, and the stream cut out right before the face-offs, which was incredibly disappointing. Thankfully, the UFC tweeted it out. We got to see it. And Luque slightly taller. Both guys very confident. This was a good, solid face-off. 2 contenders. They both know what's on the line here. I'm still leaning Luque, folks. Like, there is nothing anybody can do to get me to bet this one. I'm leaning Luque. I know that's the public opinion. I understand Belal Muhammad has a wrestling advantage, and especially with the kind of condition he's in, we can see him grind for 25 straight minutes potentially and win a decision, but I can't get over the fact that every time I've gone against Vicente Luque, he just crushes me, kicks me in the nuts, steals my wallet, and runs off giggling. So there's no way in hell I'm betting Belal Muhammad in this spot, even though he's got the exact path to victory that I think is the way you beat Luque. I'm not doing it. Total set at 4.5. The under is -130, the over is +110, and I kind of like violence here. I kind of think the under is in play. Belal doesn't really like getting hit. We saw that in the Leon Edwards fight, and Vicente Luque, even though I don't really expect a submission here in this spot, he's always got that in his back pocket. If he clubs you, if he rocks you, or if you just leave your neck out there for 1 split second, Luque can take it and go home with it. So I'm siding with Luque. I'm kind of siding Luque inside the distance. Like I said, I know that's the square opinion this week, but I'm not budging on it, and I have no investment on it financially speaking. That was the post weigh-in show, folks. The undefeated post weigh-in show. Good luck with all your tinfoil hat bets, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Give me a follow, smash this like button, make sure you go check out Superbook Sports. Let's roll.